minus 5, minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, X minus 1. Fire.
Lights out, everybody. The creaking door.
Dimension
Inner Sanctum Mystery.
X minus 1.
Dark fantasy.
Hello everyone, welcome to Sci-Fi and Horror, brought to you by Dwayne Old Time Radio. Sci-Fi and Horror features some of the best programs from the golden age of radio, including X-1, Orbiter X, Dimension X, it's a lot of X's, Lights Out, Ray Bradbury, Dark Fantasy, and many, many more. Before we start today's sci-fi and horror thriller, if you enjoy what I'm doing, let me ask you to subscribe to my channel. Subscribing is 100% free, and you will receive notifications on new posts. Lastly, if you have a moment, please write a short 1 or 2 sentence review or give a rating on your preferred podcast service. A positive review or rating would help me out a lot. And now, on to the show. And again, thank you for your support. Hope you enjoy. Sci-Fi and Horror this week is going to be sci-fi. And this one brings us the series Adventures in Research, with 2 episodes. The first, The King of Ice, which aired February 16th, 1943, is the 3rd episode of the series. And the 4th episode of the series is And Then the Night, which aired February 23rd, 1943.
Adventures in Research. We do take a lot of things for granted. Water, air, earth, sun, ice. Well now, ice. Perhaps you never heard of the man who invented ice. This is Paul Shannon bringing you another transcribed story of science produced as a public service in cooperation with the Westinghouse Research Laboratories. And today telling you the story of the Ice King, as he liked to be called. And he also liked to think he invented ice. This notion seemed absurd to the New Englanders at the dawn of the 19th century. Invent ice? With lakes, rivers, and streams frozen over? When part of any winter's work was sawing out blocks of the solid stuff.
Come on, Tom. Let's keep moving. Gosh, it's cold.
Ain't that enough? How much of the consigned stuff does Martha need anyhow?
Oh, just enough to store in the cellar. One more block ought to do it. Heave to.
While such scenes were common in the northernmost states, a young chap named Frederick Tudor of Boston found the winter months more pleasant on a ship headed for the West Indies.
Ah, there, Tudor. Another fine day for sailing. Ocean smooth as glass, eh?
Indeed. Oh, it's like a different world. When I think of the poor souls up in Boston and New England. Fetch more wood, Frederick. Get out the snow shovel, Frederick. Heat the bricks for the bed, Frederick. Oh, this is the life. Warm sun, no winter clothes.
For a young chap, you've done quite well for yourself, Tudor. Don't mind my asking, but just what do you do the rest of the year?
Oh, work in a Boston shipping firm. Started when I was 13. Oh, been there for 8 years. 8 years of cold winters and ice and snow.
Well, see, you've left that far behind. Wait till you see the West Indies. The captain says we'll be putting into port this afternoon about sundown.
Good.
Care to debark and see the place, Tudor?
Fine.
It sure is warm, isn't it? I've been doing little else but mop my brow. I don't mind it being warm, but a man can get baked in this climate, too, you know.
Oh, yes, but I love it. Oh, how about joining me in some ginger tea? That should cool you off.
Cool you off? Man, you're mad. It's warm.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Up home in the summers, we chip some ice from the ice cellar and...
Ice? We left that back there, boy. Ice. These people never saw ice, never heard of it, and wouldn't believe it if you showed it to them.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Imagine living all your life and not knowing what ice is.
Yeah, I think I'll go below deck. That sun will have me baked to a crisp.
Next time I come back, I'll have to bring my own ice with me.
Back in his native Boston, young Tudor approached his father with a peculiar request.
Dad, you know that pond you own up in Saugus?
Uh-huh. What about it?
Well, I wondered if I might be able to use it.
Use it? Well, it's pretty well fished out. Just a few miles out of Boston. And the city is growing, so...
Well, I don't want it for fishing. I want the ice.
Yeah, in a few years... You want the what?
The ice. When it freezes over this winter.
Well, I don't see why not. Welcome to it, son. You're going to build another ice cellar? Go right ahead, lad. Take all of it you want.
Thank you, Dad.
Frederick, you're welcome to it, of course. Take all the ice on the pond. But, what do you intend to do with it? Not that it's any of my business, of course, but then...
Well, thanks again, Dad.
Frederick, as I say, it's none of my affair. The ice is there for the taking. What you want with it is your own concern.
Of course.
I mean, well, hang it, son. What are you going to do with a whole pond full of ice? That is... Well, now, mind you, I know you have a good reason for it, I'm sure, but then...
Well, I do, Dad. I'm going to take the ice down to the West Indies.
I see. Well, I knew you'd have a sound, sensible, sane... You what?
Yes, Frederick Tudor was going to bring ice to the equator. With hardly enough cash to pay for cutting the ice, he managed to charter a ship, and in the winter of 1805... sent 2 helpers down to the port of Saint-Pierre in Martinique to prepare for the arrival. In March of 1806, Frederick Tudor arrived in Martinique on a ship whose hold was filled with 130 tons of ice packed in hay.
Excuse me, you speak English?
Oui, I speak English, little.
Have you seen a couple of Americans, a Mr. Armitage, a Mr. Westland?
Je ne sais pas.
Oh. A tall man, short man, my friends, supposed to meet me here. Meet me here. Ice. They talk of ice. In boat. Boat. Ice.
No.
Let me put it this way. American money?
American money. Oui, they be at Tivoli Garden. Yes, they spend, laugh, drink. Oui, they gone.
Tivoli Gardens?
Oui, Tivoli Garden. Over there, see? It say Tivoli.
Thanks.
Merci, monsieur. Merci. Merci, monsieur.
Are you the proprietor?
Ah, oui, monsieur. Giovanni Tivoli. At your service, monsieur.
I'm looking for some countrymen of mine from the States. I understand they were here.
I look for them, too. They leave Giovanni. They say, we see you, Giovanni. Goodbye, Giovanni. Pay you later, Giovanni. For 2 weeks, Giovanni, wait. I cannot afford to lose such money. They you friend? You pay their bill, huh?
I'm afraid not. They left me holding the bag, too.
What bag?
I have a cargo aboard my ship in the harbor, and they were supposed to...
You bring in cargo from the States, monsieur?
Yes, and something has to be done quickly. With this sun beating down, in no time it'll all...
Oh, of course. Sun no good for food, monsieur. Sun spoil it soon.
Not spoil it, melt it.
Such funny words you use in States, monsieur. We say food spoil. You say food melt?
Melt. But it isn't food, it's ice. And it's very...
I am sure nice. Very nice.
Not nice. Ice. I-C-E. Ice.
Oh, to be sure, monsieur. Oui, ice. I-C-E. Ice, n'est-ce pas?
Yes, ice.
Ice, oui. What is ice?
Well, Well, it's the, well, when it freezes, water becomes...
Water? You like less of water, monsieur? Of course. There you are, monsieur. Water. Compliment Tivoli Gardens.
A very nice establishment you have here.
Like in the States, no, monsieur? Just like in the States?
Well, sort of. Of course, in the States we have ice.
Tivoli Gardens, as good as States, monsieur. Nothing you have there that Giovanni does not have here.
Well, you lack just one thing. If you had that, then indeed your Tivoli Gardens would be as great as any American restaurant.
What do we not have? Giovanni has everything. Look, coffee, tea, home-baked cake.
But where is your ice?
Ice?
Ice.
In States, monsieur. Every place has this ice.
Wouldn't dream of opening without it. Unheard of.
Tivoli Gardens as good as any place. I, too, can have ice. You say you have a shipload of this ice in harbor, monsieur?
Oh, I do, but, I've already promised it to...
Promised? I buy this ice. I pay double. You sell to me, eh?
Well, you're a hard businessman, Giovanni. All right. I'll sell you the ice.
Good, monsieur. One question, monsieur. Now I have the ice. What do I do with it?
Why, you can make ice cream with it.
Oh, ice cream? Oui, of course. Ice cream. What is this ice cream?
You never heard of ice cream?
Never, monsieur.
Well, you will, Giovanni, and all Martinique will. You have some milk, sugar, flavorings?
Oui.
Here, take my coat. I'll start in making some ice cream right now, and by tomorrow, Tivoli Gardens will be the talk of Martinique.
On the first night, Tivoli Gardens sold more than $300 worth of ice cream, and the customers crowded the place. The local newspaper hailed the event.
This remarkable epoch in the history of luxury and enterprise began March 6th, 1806, when ice creams were eaten for the first time in the settlement of the country lying just 14 degrees north of the equator.
And though the bringing of ice to Martinique might be hailed as a social success, financially, Tudor lost almost $3,500 due to the melting of the ice. But he tried it again, this time in 1815 in Havana, where startled natives saw the construction of a strange building.
Mamma mia, he say it is an ice house.
An ice house it was, with double partitions and dead space between the walls and heavy plank flooring. In the floor, gutters were embedded like eaves spouts, which caught the melted ice and conveyed it to a barrel outside. At the barrel, Frederick Tudor stood with the watch in his hand.
Hour's up. Runoff amounts to 56 pounds. Now, that's too much. We'll need more hay to cover the ice. Better. 33 pounds in an hour. But not good enough. We'll bank earth around the building and try that. 18 pounds. We can't do much better than that.
But Tudor was still not completely satisfied. His shipments increased, his fleet enlarged. But what could he do to preserve the ice? Hay was not enough. He tried tan bark, chaff, wheat, pulverized cork, even coal dust, until he hit upon another item of New England waste, pine sawdust. With the help of that and new special tools, augers, tongs, picaroons, his ice exports jumped from 4,000 tons a year to 65,000 tons. He sent apples to the tropics, brought tropical fruits to the States, and was soon recognized as the ice king of the world. 4 years before his death in 1864, he had the satisfaction of seeing his ships carrying ice to 53 ports all over the world. And the last glimpse we have of the Ice King is at 80, as he stands at a frosted window in the cold he so despised, watching the weather and remarking,
"The frost covers the window. The wheels creak. The boys run. Winter rules. And $50,000 worth of ice floats for me on fresh pond.
Ice to cool the palates of the world, that I might be warm.
The world has come far since the days of Frederick Tudor and his shiploads of ice. And in no respect has it progressed further than in the science of refrigeration. Today, modern electric refrigeration and ice-making methods have long since made Tudor's enterprise out of date. But his discovery of better insulation to protect his ice helped push forward the day when the ice itself would be unnecessary. An unusual result, indeed, to Frederick Tudor's equally strange adventure in research. And that's today's Adventures in Research, produced in cooperation with the Westinghouse Research Laboratories. These programs are broadcast to Armed Forces personnel overseas through the facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Join us again next week for another transcribed story of science on Adventures in Research.
Adventures in Research. A great philosopher died in the year 1292. No one marked the day of his passing. He had lived to a disillusioned old age, seeing none of his dreams come true. And so he passed into oblivion. But later he stood in the minds of man as little less than a god. What manner of man was he who said, "A little groping toward the light, and then the night"? What manner of man was Roger Bacon? This is Paul Shannon bringing you another transcribed story of science, produced as a public service in cooperation with the Westinghouse Research Laboratories. And today telling you the story of one of science's earliest contributors, the fragments of the story of a man named Roger Bacon.
Yes, here's the tablet. Right here, all right. Now, this is the site where he lived. It says... Oh, I can barely make it out. The great philosopher Roger Bacon, born in the year of our Lord 1214... who, by experimental method, extended the realm of science and, after a long life of untiring activity, fell asleep 1292 in the year of our Lord.
The tablet at Oxford gives only a glimpse of what Roger Bacon bequeathed to us. 1292 is a long time back to find the measure of a man. 7 centuries of dust obscure him in his gray prison cell where he died, and his passing was not marked. And the gray dust of time obscured the books he wrote, if indeed they were ever written. Then from out the ashes of forgotten fame sprung a legend. The centuries changed and dissolved. Words were whispered, legends of great books hidden away, and a name began to take form as the centuries passed. Roger Bacon became a world of legend.
Oh, Friar Roger called Bacon. Didst thou know he built a bridge by the natural condensation of air? Aye, he built a bridge 30 miles long over the sea from England to France.
Oh, and what happened to it?
He passed over it safely, this bridge of air, he and all his retinue.
A most remarkable bridge. Hast thou seen it?
Alas, no. For Friar Roger destroyed it again by rarefying the air.
A most remarkable man.
But that is nothing compared to what else he has done. There is nothing in the world the man could not do.
A magician of white arts he was.
Roger Bacon was dead 200 years.
'Tis said that Friar Bacon had two most wonderful mirrors that he built.
Two wonderful mirrors?
By one of them, he could light a candle at any hour, day or night.
A man among men. To light a candle by a mirror.
That is not all. With the other mirror...
Yes, the other mirror?
In the other mirror, he could see what people were doing in any part of the world.
See people in it? Verily, this Friar Bacon was a man among men.
Roger Bacon was dead 250 years.
And this man Bacon fashioned a head of brass that sat upon his table, and from it he could obtain the answer to any question he asked.
And Roger Bacon was dead 300 years. Today, Bacon is dead more than 650 years. Can we now see the man, not the forgotten old prisoner who died unlamented, nor the near genius with a head of brass, but the real Roger Bacon? Little is known about the external events of his life, but we now can reconstruct the summary of his internal life, his ideas. He attended the University of Oxford, where he heard such things as...
Yes, scholars, we must do as Aristotle had done. He combined the study of physics, biology, and mathematics into a universal system of logic, upon which all human knowledge is based.
Aristotle, dead some 15 centuries. Yet, Bacon must do as Aristotle had done.
But Aristotle lacked the necessary instruments to verify his scientific doctrines. Can we not progress beyond what Aristotle knew and thought?
Bacon was almost 30 now, and his philosophy had begun to crystallize. So he left his role of teacher of philosophy and turned to his religion for his science. He became a Franciscan friar. But in the 13th century, science was at twilight of mysticism and guesswork. No one had made the experiments to discover what was and what was not. All this Roger Bacon undertook.
What others have striven to see dimly and blindly, like bats at twilight, I investigate in the full light of day.
My lord, constantly there are visitors to Friar Roger, and such visitors. Whence come they? Where does he find them? And more, what business hath he with such? Today there were tillers of soil and rag pickers, and old women, ploughmen, and soldiers. Yesterday there were barbers and cooks.
Bacon had chosen the whole world as his province. There was nothing known to the laymen, old women, soldiers, and ploughmen of which he was ignorant. He worked with minerals and metals and made weapons of war. He studied agriculture and rainfall. He made notes of remedies and charms employed by old gossips. He studied the books of magicians that he might expose their mystic tricks. Nothing that deserved inquiry escaped him. And the world and his friends might ask,
But, Friar Roger, of what good is it to cram your head with the gossip of the kitchen, to study the earth in the field neath the plough, turn your mind to better things?
To what better things? The world is my subject, good Edmund, and I have learned much. Suppose I should tell you that the calendar is wrong.
Calendar? Wrong? Nonsense.
Suppose I tell you that one might construct with glass an aid to the eyes.
Oh, what fancy is this, pray?
The laws of optics. It would be practical, I believe, to construct some sort of glasses to be placed before the eyes, and the aged and those with weak eyes would find it helpful.
And those stones on the table, are they to see with also?
Stones? Oh, magnets. I have been studying the characteristics of the magnetic field.
Pray tell me, Friar Roger, is there nothing you have not learned?
It is a wide world, Edmund, and there are many laws. I believe I have come upon certain of them, but I am not sure.
'Tis senseless to speak.
No more senseless than what I have already heard.
I believe I have come upon certain laws whereby a child might appear to be a giant and a man as a mountain. Thus a small army might appear very large, and thus we could cause the sun and the moon and stars in appearance to descend here below.
Cease! You speak blasphemy, or are you bereft of your senses? I will list to no more. The moon descending, a man appearing as a mountain. What is this? What is this?
What it was, of course, was the telescope. Friar Roger hadn't discovered it, but he had come tantalizingly close, and he came even closer to other discoveries. In his manuscripts, there is a strange cipher, a secret message, a discovery he guarded carefully. So carefully, he could not trust it in print. A momentous thing to indeed be so protected. The coded message has been deciphered and read at last. And the peculiar note by Bacon read,
I have produced an explosion that outroared the thunder, and a flash that exceeded the brilliance of lightning.
What Bacon had discovered was gunpowder. But the 13th century was not ready for such knowledge, nor prepared for such a man. So Roger Bacon was put into prison, a dark little cell that was to be his home for 14 years. But with his parchment and quill, Bacon continued his study. His spirit would not be quenched. And after his daily diet of bread and water, he would write.
As for wealth, the true man of science neither receives it nor seeks it. If he frequented kings and princes, he would easily find those who would bestow on him honors and wealth. But that would hinder him from pursuing the great experiments in which he delights. In his pursuit of knowledge, the philosopher can remove even the walls of his cell and stretch them to the outermost limits of the world.
Yet perhaps all was not lost. Perhaps some men of the 13th century would listen. The Pope wrote to Bacon,
I request that you declare through your writing what remedies seem to you fitting for dealing with these matters.
Here at last, an attentive ear to what Bacon had learned. He wrote his manuscript and entrusted it to a friend. But the road to Rome was long and hard. The Pope died within a year. The manuscript never reached him. There were wars and great battles, and the manuscript fell into oblivion, not to be seen again until 1733, 450 years after it had been written. Yet we cannot say, poor Roger Bacon, as did his few friends who visited him in his lowly cell.
Do not waste pity on me. The real prisoners of life are not those like unto me, whose bodies are locked behind bars of iron, but those whose minds are chained. I pity the jailers. May God release them from the shackles of their ignorance.
He busied himself with his pen, writing his notes in code, ciphers of gunpowder and poison gas. And as the light began to fail, he gathered his friends and pupils around him in the dark gray of the prison room and spoke to them. And his eyes grew luminous, and his voice took on dreamlike intensity.
I believe that humanity shall accept as an axiom for its conduct the principle for which I have laid down my life, the right to investigate. It is the credo of free men, this opportunity to try, the privilege to be wrong, the courage to experiment anew. It is the end of the quest. I am not yet 80. A whole lifetime spent trying to catch a fleeting glimpse of the truth. What have I accomplished in the years allotted? Yea, I have only glanced at the title page of God's manuscript. And now it is almost time to close the book. Life is a little groping toward the light, And then the night. Such was Roger Bacon, the first modern man of science. He did not cause a great stir in his own world. His ideas were not accepted. He lived to a disillusioned old age. He failed to see any of his dreams come true. And when he died, no one noted the day of his passing. Yet he left a heritage for you, for me, for all mankind that followed him. His was indeed a monumental adventure in research. And that's today's Adventures in Research, produced in cooperation with the Westinghouse Research Laboratories. These programs are broadcast to Armed Forces personnel overseas through the facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Join us again next week for another transcribed story of science on Adventures in Research.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy what I'm doing, I ask you to please subscribe to my channel or channels. Well, hope you enjoyed, and until next time, stay safe, wish you well, peace.